Okay, so for today's talk, I want to talk about some kind of deep subjects, things that have been floating around in my head for a little while. Um, if God is real, why don't we see him or her? Um, if God is all powerful and all knowing, then why do bad things happen to good people? The problem of evil in the universe, this sort of thing. Um, what you're looking at here on the screen is this is a picture taken from the Hubble telescope. It is of a galaxy called NGC 1569. Um, it's not too far away. It does create new stars at a rate that is 100 times faster than the rate observed in our galaxy, which is the Milky Way galaxy. This frenzied pace has been going on for the past 100 million years. There is a centerpiece at the core of a giant star cluster that contains more than 1 million stars. Two of the star clusters are so close that they appear as one grouping. There are explosions that trigger a violent flow of gas and particles, and this the sculpted structure at the lower right that is about 3,700 light years long. That's how huge what you're looking at is, and this is just one galaxy among other galaxies that we are outside of it. Now, what I believe is that we are not separate from this galaxy, even though it's thousands of light years away and it's beautiful and mysterious and it's amazing. It is still a part of the universe, and we are part of that. So there are galaxies upon galaxies bigger than our minds can ever imagine. And each galaxy is like a cell in the body of this bigger universe that we are all a part of. And then there's planets and stars that are all cells in the body of our Milky Way galaxy, which is our local neighborhood. And then here on planet Earth, we have people who are cells in the body of what makes up life on Earth. And then, of course, inside our bodies, there are actually cells, and inside the cells are the mitochondria and the various cell parts and so forth. And we are all a part of this thing that is life. And you cannot be separate from that. You cannot not be connected. And I think it's part of why we long to be connected to each other, to other people, to animals, to nature. It's because it's our nature to be connected. And in fact, you never are not. I sometimes imagine um, that we are cells in the body of God. And this kind of an idea was portrayed in this movie, Osmosis Jones. Chris Rock is the voice of Osmosis Jones. Bill Murray plays Frank. Frank is sick and is not taking good care of himself. He eats some questionable oysters. He's got things breaking out on his face, and they're trying to help him. They're trying to save his life, and his life is in danger because he hasn't been taking care of himself, and that has effect on the cells in the body. You'll notice the germ in the bottom left-hand corner here, it has a Pikachu. The reason why is there is actually a protein, a retinol protein that is created in the body. It's called a Pikachurin, which is named after the Pokemon. And so there is actually there's a scientific reality there, interestingly enough. And the idea for this movie came from a conversation that one of my teachers at Santa Barbara Business College had with a friend of hers in Hollywood, and that idea grew up to become Osmosis Jones. So what if the cells in my body, um, as far as they're concerned, I am God to them. I am the bigger thing. And they're trying to understand what it is, what their place in the body is, and how they fit in there. And if you imagine them as having a life and having thoughts and feelings of their own, then they may be calling out to me for attention, to LaDawn, and saying, LaDawn, love me, care about me. Hey, I'm in trouble. Right now, I actually do have some cells on the back of my neck that are a little upset. and they're crying out for attention. There's a little bit of a rash there, um, related to the COVID-19 vaccine. And so I imagine these, like a skin cell on the back of my neck. Like, if LaDawn is real, why does she not show herself to me? And I'm right here going, You're you are me. What do you mean show yourself? Show myself to you. We're looking in the mirror. And they're like, the eye cells can see what's in the mirror, but I'm a skin cell. I don't have any eyes. And I'm like, yeah, so how am I supposed to show myself to you? I don't quite know what I can do with that. The skin cell on the back of my neck is sad and like, if LaDawn loves the body and is all powerful, why does she allow RNA intruders to attack these cells? And I'm trying to explain, like, there's a pandemic and it's okay and you're fine. Like, the skin on my neck is going to be fine and everything's fine. But this same thing, like, why doesn't LaDawn care about the crisis that I'm enduring? Well, I do care. I'm taking the vitamin C, I'm drinking the water, I'm getting the exercise, I'm eating healthy foods. I've got the, I've got the Zyrtec right here. I'm taking care of you. But because this cell is still in crisis, it doesn't feel that the love is coming. And he starts to wonder, like, the scale, the skin, again, this is the skin on the back of my neck. Like, you said you wanted eyes on the back of my head. Maybe I should try harder to be an eye. I'm like, no, I don't want you to try harder to be an eye. I just want you to be skin. It's fine. Just be what you are. And what did I do wrong to cause LaDawn to punish? No, you're just a skin cell doing what skin cells are supposed to do. And then the skin cell is like, what are the rules and how can I live up to the expect? I'm like, I don't, it's just life. Just live your life. But I'm dying. Yeah, that's the nature of skin cells. They die and they get born again and they die again and it's okay. We're all and my skin cell is like, why don't you care about me? And I'm like, I could not care about you more. And then the skin cell is like, you know what? There's some cancer in here. And there is in your body, there's cancer every day. And the reason that I don't have cancer is because that growth hasn't gotten out of control yet. Maybe someday it will. There's there's all kinds of cancers going on right now, probably, especially in the colon or in somewhere. Um, and there are ways to take care of that. So the cells in your body are completely loyal to you. This is a quote from Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the Four Agreement. They work for you in harmony. We can even say they pray to you. You are their God. This is absolutely the truth. What will you do with this knowledge? The cells in your body are doing what cells do. And if they were to get worried about I'm not the right kind of cell, what's the wrong way? What are the commandments? I'm like, you can't break the commandments of cells. It's just life. It's fine. You're going to live, you're going to die, you're going to come, you're going to go. And there are all kinds of ideas like that where God loves you and cares about you and has never been separate from you. And so when you scream and cry and throw a fit like, God, why did you leave me? God is like holding you in his hand saying, you're right here in the palm of my hand. Like, I never left you. You are all, and I'm like, but I'm in danger and bad things. Ah. And God's like, no, you're alive. And yeah, you're going to die. Everybody does. It's okay. And And so this panicking where we get caught up in the drama of the day to day, that's just us getting caught up in the drama. The reason why God can't jump in and into the drama with you is because he's bigger than the galaxy. There's and I say he just because that's the way I grew up, but there's not really gender there. Um, there's only one of us here. And we are unified. And we do have cancer in our societies, and it comes and it goes. And we should be as healthy as we can be. We should shine as bright as we can shine. We should be um, as fulfilled as we can, because what the body needs are cells that are fully alive, that have functioning mitochondria, that are following the way, the rules and things. So it's just, there's really powerful stuff. And I have one more thing I want to share with you. It's a YouTube video. It's fairly short, and it is about what cells are and how they relate to you. And as you're thinking about what cells are, I also want you to think about how you relate to the bigger thing that is all of us, and that you and I are both a part of, that we are all alive in. And how do you become even more alive and even more yourself in that context? So just 1 minute and I'll have that YouTube video up for you.
Life is fundamentally different from dead stuff, or is it? Physicist Erwin Schrödinger defined life this way: living things avoid decay into disorder and equilibrium. What does this mean? Let's pretend that your download folder is the universe. It started orderly and got more and more chaotic over time. By investing energy, you can create order and clean it up. This is what living things do. But what is life? Every living thing on this planet is made of cells. Basically, a cell is a protein-based robot too small to feel or experience anything. It has the properties we just assigned to life. It has a wall that separates it from the surroundings, creating order. It regulates itself and maintains a constant state. It eats stuff to stay alive. It grows and develops, it reacts to the environment, and it's subject to evolution, and it makes more of itself. But of all the stuff that makes up a cell, no part is alive. Stuff reacts chemically with other stuff, forming reactions that start other reactions, which start other reactions. In a single cell every second, several million chemical reactions take place, forming a complex orchestra. A cell can build several thousand types of protein, some very simple, some complex micromachines. Imagine driving a car at 100 kilometers an hour while constantly rebuilding every single part of it with stuff you collect from the street. That is what cells do. But no part of the cell is alive. Everything is dead matter moved by the laws of the universe. So is life the aggregate of all these reaction processes that are taking place? Eventually, every living thing will die. The goal of the whole process is to prevent this by producing new entities. And by this, we mean DNA. Life is, in a way, just a lot of stuff that carries genetic information around. Every living thing is subject to evolution, and the DNA that develops the best living thing around it will stay in the game. So, is DNA life then? If you take DNA out of its hull, it certainly is a very complex molecule, but it can't do anything by itself. This is where viruses make everything more complicated. They are basically strings of RNA or DNA in a small hull and need cells to do something. We're not sure if they count as living or dead. And still, there are 225 million cubic meters of viruses on Earth. They don't seem to care what we think of them. There are even viruses that invade dead cells and reanimate them so they can be a host for them, which blurs the line even more. Or mitochondria. They are the power plants of most complex cells and were previously free-living bacteria that entered a partnership with bigger cells. They still have their own DNA and can multiply on their own, but they are not alive anymore. They are dead. So they traded their own life for the survival of their DNA, which means living things can evolve into dead things as long as it's beneficial to their genetic code. So maybe life is information that manages to ensure its continued existence. But what about AI, artificial intelligence? By our most common definitions, we are very close to creating artificial life in computers. It's just a question of time before the technology we build gets there. And this is not science fiction either. There are a lot of smart people actively working on this. You could already argue that computer viruses are alive. Okay, so what is life then? Things? Processes? DNA? Information? This got confusing very fast. One thing is for sure, the idea that life is fundamentally different from non-living things because they contain some non-physical element or are governed by different principles than inanimate objects turns out to be wrong. Before Charles Darwin, humans drew a line between themselves and the rest of living things. There was something magical about us that made us special. Once we had to accept we are, like every living being, a product of evolution, we drew a different line. But the more we learn about what computers can do and how life works, the closer we get to creating the first machine that fits our description of life, the more our image of ourselves is in danger again. And this will happen sooner or later. And here's another question for you. If everything in the universe is made of the same stuff, does this mean everything in the universe is dead, or that everything in the universe is alive? That it's just a question of complexity? Does this mean we can never die because we were never alive in the first place? Is life and death an irrelevant question, and we haven't noticed it yet? Is it possible we are much more part of the universe around us than we thought? Don't look at us, we don't have any answers for you, just questions for you to think about. After all, it's thinking about questions like this that makes us feel alive and gives us some comfort.
There we go. All right. So that's a fun little video. I'll link to it in the comments so you can get to more of their content if you would like to. But there's a lot to think about there. Are you alive? Are you dead? It's a lot. What is alive and what isn't is not as obvious as you would think. And even with the plants and the trees and the rocks and the dirt and the worms and the everything, those are all a part of what you are. It's not different from you. It's the same. And we're all following these rules. There's no code outside of you of right and wrong. We're all a part of life and life is a part of us. And we can label things and judge things, but we're not even right when we say this is the animal kingdom and this is the plant kingdom. Like there is also more complexity there, and we don't know what we don't know. So what are you going to do with that knowledge? I hope you feel connected to everything. I hope you dance. It's a wonderful song by Leanne Womack where she talks about that. I hope that you feel wonder when you that you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean, that this sense of wonder at the magical, it's the paradox of that there nothing is magic, everything works according to the laws of the universe, and at the same time the laws of the universe are amazing, and it's so much more simpler than you thought and also more complex than you thought. All of these paradoxes drive me crazy. They're amazing. I hope you feel wonder. I hope that you can treat yourself like the part of the universe that you are. Um, Understand that it doesn't make any sense for a drop of water in the ocean to wonder where the ocean is. It's right there. It's in you. There is an ocean and a drop of water, and there is it, it's so big, it's so beautiful. You're beautiful, you belong here. Your journey is exactly the way it's supposed to be. You can't get it wrong because you're always following the rules of life. And there may be things that make you more upset or happier. You may get better at emotional regulation, you may get better at making decisions. All of those things that come from hard work are worth it, but you're learning at exactly the pace that you're supposed to be. And I honor your journey. And thanks for listening to me today. And we will see you tomorrow.